Okay, hopefully you can hear me. My name is Adere, and welcome back to Learning Python. I believe we're on day 8 or 7 now. But yeah, so as you can see on my screen, I'm sharing Notepad. I'm just sharing an open Notepad because we don't really need the slides presentation today. Because today we're just going to be touching on some of the skills we've already learned, and we're going to do this by building a game of rock, paper, scissors. So last camp we already looked at pretty much what would be going on to that game and learn everything that we needed to know. I think we discussed modular programming, and yeah, I said you should try building rock paper scissors. And if you did, and maybe you didn't get it, or if you did, maybe I'll show you a different way of how to build that today. So here are the guidelines for what our game needs to do. So first of all, this is probably going to be a shorter camp. I'll just say that off the bat. But anyways, our game needs to log all wins and losses to log.txt. Of course, is those the wins and losses of the actual player. Second thing, of course, is that the computer's outcome. So if the computer chooses rock, paper, or scissors, that needs to be randomized. And also, this program needs to be an infinite loop. So the game just keeps running until we end it. So with that being said, let's get started. So if you're not familiar with rock paper scissors, I'll try to break down the rules. So pretty much it's just pretty much a 1-in-3 game. Two people usually pull out things. It's usually like a 2-player game that you play with 2 people in person. But yeah, pretty much it's like you choose one of these 3 options, and then some of these beat others. So for example, paper loses to rock. Maybe I'll just say paper. I will say paper loses to, or no, paper beats rock. Sorry, I'll show you all there is. Paper beats rock. Rock beats scissors. Scissors beats paper. I said that wrong. Scissors beats paper. So the conventional way that this is usually said, I guess, is that in a sense, it's kind of like you'd go 1, 2, 3, kind of like this, rock, paper, scissors, and then 2 people would pull out whatever they chose at the same time. This represents scissors and this represents rock. But in this case, since it's against the computer, we know there's going to be no cheating, so it doesn't matter if we pull it out at the same time. The computer's going to choose its output. We won't see it, and then we write in our output, and then that's pretty much how the game goes. Let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything here. Paper beats rock, yep. Rock beats scissors, yeah, because it smashes it, and scissors cuts paper. Okay, so that looks good. So here's some components we know we're going to need. So if we're logging everything to a file, log.txt, so it's going to show win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, whatever. What's important is that we use what we've learned from reading and writing to files. Another important thing is that we need to randomize computer's outcome, and to do that, from what we learned last camp, we're probably going to use that random module we learned about. Another last thing, of course, is that this needs to be an infinite loop, and then we're using a while loop to do that as well. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm just going to save this file first of all. I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Call it RPS, short for rock, paper, scissors. Save it, and then we have this. I think I'll just comment all of this out, and then we'll start writing our code for the game. Like that, okay. So all the way down here now. So to start off, the way I think I'm going to do this is by putting everything in a list, put all my 3 options in a list. I'm just going to create the computer's role of choosing something random first. I think that's like the easiest one to start off with. So I'll just call this list, I'll just call it cart. I usually call my list cart. I don't know why I do that. And I'm just going to put all the possible items in here. So it's rock. And then next one's going to be paper. And then next one's going to be scissors. So these are all the items. And once again, we're just going to do the component of having the computer randomize it first. So also I need to import random. Import random. Or I'm going to actually just import rand to int. That's the function we use. So I'm just going to say from random import random, like that. And close off this one as well. And I'll just build the computer. So computer is going to be, maybe I'll just call it comp. No, I'll call it computer. I'll just do it. Computer is going to be equal to something random out of this. So if I want to do that, I need the length of cart because it's going to be the first one. So from something to whatever range. So it's going to be rand int. I think we're going to say length of cart, which is going to be the last thing it looks at. And then this first one's going to be, let's just say 0. So it's looking between 0 and length of cart. But remember, length of cart is going to echo this to real number. I think we're going to have to say +1 here. For now, let's just test this out to make sure this works. I'm just going to print computer and see that the computer actually chooses all of these options. So save that. I'm going to run it. I'm just on this screen. Sorry, I got a vibration on my phone. Put this over here. And the computer prints out 0. Oh, okay, so my bad. Let me see what I told it to print. Drag this over here, sorry. So I said cart, rock, paper, scissors. I say computer equals 0. Oh, so it's just pulling out a number from here. And then I'm going to tell it to do this, sorry. I'm going to say print, let's see. Right now it's only pulling a number. I want it to actually pull out this actual thing. So to do that, I'm going to say, let me think. I think I'm going to tell it to do this instead. Print, I think I'll do that and I'll say computer equals cart computer. Let's see if this works now. Save this. Let's run this. See our output. Got nothing. Oh, I didn't tell it to print it. Let's tell it to print it now. Computer like that. Save and I run. Okay, yep, so we got scissors this time. Let's run it again. List index out of range. So I want 1 out of range. That's because this only counts from 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is saying 3. So I'm just going to do that -1 trick I taught us earlier. Save that and run it again. We got rock that time. Let's run one more time. Scissors that time. Just make sure we can get paper and we're good. Scissors, rock, rock. We're not getting lucky with our random right now. Rock. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get paper. We're just going to move on in a second. I wonder why I keep getting rock. Scissors. Scissors. Let's see if we can get paper. It's only a 1 in 3, right? Paper. There we go. Okay, so that's how you know it works. So it looks like we're just kind of unlucky with our thing randomizing. So we know this works, and the computer pulls something out of cart as it is right now. So I believe there's a simpler way we can actually get it to pull out something from here. I think we can go something like this. Or I'll keep this code here for now. I'll go, oh, I accidentally did that, my bad. I'll go like this. Copy that, paste that here. And then I think I can go something like this, because this is a lot of writing just to get it to pull something out of here. And you might have thought this in your head as well, but I'm pretty sure we can just do something like this, right? We're pulling something out of the cart already, so you don't need to do that. And then now from cart, we have to pull out a number, right? So what I can say in here is that's just going to pull out random. Let's put our symbol here. And then it's going to pull out from 0 to length of cart. And we're going to do -1. So hopefully this makes sense. So this code we wrote up here, these 2 lines, what we wrote up here, is basically equivalent to just doing it in 1 line like this. Because here we're still opening up cart and we're pulling something from it automatically just by having everything between these brackets. And now it's just a number that goes in here. And we're getting our number from random, so it's randomized. And this is the range it's doing it from. And yeah, so instead of doing all that, we can erase this now. I believe we can use this code and it will work successfully. Let's see. So let's go save this now. Let's run it to make sure this is still random. So the reason I'm just printing this out right now is just so I can see that I'm still getting my desired output and everything's being randomized. So I'm just going to try to get 2 of the options. If I get rock and scissors, paper is going to work. That means because it's in between that. But yeah, so let's run this code. Let's open it up here, drag this over here. We got paper that time. Let's run it again. Open up here again. I'll make this a little bit tinier. It doesn't need to be that big. Actually, yeah, I think I'm just going to put it on the side like this. Our output's to the right and our code's to the left. Let me go up here, and I think I'm going to have to zoom out a bit so we can see this a bit better. So let me do that right now. I think it's window. No, it's configure IDLE options. I'm going to make this a little bit tinier. Let's say 25, like that. I'm going to drag that here. So yeah, I hope we can still all read this. If you can't read this and it's too tiny, you can say something in chat and I'll make it larger again. Okay, but anyways, we got rock that time. Let's run this again. We got rock again, run it again. We got paper, scissors. So it is randomized. So that's a good sign. But for our actual game, of course, we're not just going to print out the computer's output immediately. So yeah, that's the first component of the game that we've done right here. We have it pulling out the computer's random outputs. Now we have the computer done, and now we're probably just going to be comparing the computer's output with the user's output. So next, let me see. What should we do next? Next, I think let's also just collect the user's input now. So I'll call this player. Actually, I'll call this user equals, let me see. I'm trying to think actually what I want to call it. I'll call this user choice equals input. And I'll do maybe a print up here as well, just so they know what they're going to do. Print rock, paper, or scissors. Scissors is going to show up for the user. I'm not going to put too much of like text here for like to read like all the other extra stuff. It's going to be a basic foundation of the game itself for now. So print rock, paper, or scissors. Then we save user choice to the input over here. That looks good. And then probably, honestly, now we're going to skip the part about logging. Remember, we also have to log all the wins and losses. So we're going to skip that for now, and we're just going to do the actual game. So we have user choice as well. So we need to compare the user choice. So I think the easiest thing, the first thing that comes to mind that we can do is that we can compare if the computer and the user choose the exact same thing. So I can do something like this. I can say if, actually let's do the while loop first. It's going to be while true, right? Because it's infinite. Remember, one of our things has to make it so that it is an infinite loop. So we're going to say while true, it's going to check if, this should actually be inside the loop. We're going to add that afterwards. But if user underscore choice, actually maybe I'm thinking we're still gonna do the while loop, but just for now, since we're putting like the basic foundations of the game, we're just gonna maybe not do that yet because we don't need anything to loop in. So if user choice is equal to computer, we're going to print tie like that. And then over here as well, we also want to log if it's a tie as well, but we'll get into that code later since we're reading and writing. But for now, this is good. So if user choice is equal to computer, remember computer is going to be rock, paper, scissors, and then our choice, of course, is going to be rock, paper, scissors. It's going to print tie. And something else I'm thinking of is in case if they don't enter in rock, paper, or scissors, I'm going to go like this. I can say else. I can say please enter in one of the three options, like that. I'm just going to put it on more lines so we can read it without having to scroll horizontally, like that. So that should be good now. So that's just taking on 2 lines. I know that looks weird, but let's just try to ignore it for now. So if user choice is the same as computers, it's going to print tie. So the next thing is an elif problem. We want elif. So now it's going to be elif, let's say user choice. So I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to say elif the user choice equals this. Then you're going to check if the computer's choice equals whatever it loses to. And if it does, you're going to print whatever. So elif user choice equals, let's just do rock. It's going to print, or no, it's not going to print anything yet. It's going to check now. It's going to check for something else. Let me make sure I ended to that right. Yeah, it's going to check if computer equals what does rock lose to? Or what does rock beat? Rock beats scissors. It's going to check if the computer's input equals scissors. And then if that's the case now, what it's going to do is that it's going to print if computer's choice equals scissors, which means the user won. It's going to print you win. And then we also pretty much want one if they lose. So in here, I can just go like this. I can say else print you lose, like that. So we're just using our if statements here. So it's an if statement, elif choice one, elif, or sorry, not even elif yet. If the user's choice is equal to the computer's choice, it's going to print tie, of course, because they're the same. And then we have an elif in case if this isn't true, so it's not a tie. Then it's going to check if the user choice is equal to rock. If it is, it's going to check if the computer's choice is equal to scissors, because rock beats scissors. And then it's going to print you win afterwards. If it is equal to scissors, and if it's not, that means the computer chose what's it called, the last option, which is paper, because we already checked to see if they chose the same thing as the user. In this case, it was rock. Then it's going to print you lose instead down here. Let's just make that all capitals to stay consistent. You lose, like that. So I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple times because you'll see why in a second, actually. Because pretty much what's going on here is that it's pretty much like the exact same format for all of these. So we checked if user did rock. Now we're going to check if user did paper. So if user chose paper, you're going to check if they rock beats scissors. So we're going to check if paper beats rock. Or we're going to check if the computer chose rock. And it's going to print you win because paper beats rock. Else, meaning they didn't choose rock. We also know they didn't choose paper, once again, because we already checked to see if they chose the same thing. That means they chose scissors, and they lose. So we don't need to put all that extra writing there. And now elif choice, we have our last one here. We did rock, paper. Now we need scissors. Elif, the user's choice is equal to scissors. You're going to check if the computer's choice is paper. Paper beats scissors, so it's going to print you win. Else, meaning they didn't choose, the computer didn't choose rock or sorry, what am I trying to say? Elif, the user choice equals scissors. If computer equals paper, scissors beats paper, it's going to print you win. Else, meaning that the computer did not choose paper. We know it didn't choose scissors because once again, it would tie. So that means they chose rock, so they would print you lose instead for us. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sorry, I was mixing up my who wins in what scenario with rock, paper, scissors. So anyways, that's pretty much honestly the main foundation for our code right now. We still haven't added our while loop, and we haven't added logging to the game because we want to log our losses and wins. But let's just see how this runs so far. Let's see what happens if we actually run this just to make sure. You lose. Let's just do one last big thing. We're about to do an else, I think. Oh yeah, we already have our else down here actually. And then we'll go like that. So let's save that. Let's run it. So all the way down here is what's happening. Rock, paper, or scissors. I'll say rock. It says tie. So to verify this is actually a correct tie, what we're actually seeing is true. For all of these, I think I'm just going to get it to print out the computer's output for now. Honestly, no, we don't need to do that. I'm pretty sure this works. We'll try it again. Because right now, as it is, we just have to trust we wrote our code correctly because we don't know what the computer actually chose. But let's just run it again to make sure, honestly. It would be better if I just told it to print out what the computer says for now, since we're just testing around with the code to make sure it works. But let's just do it like this for now because I have to go back into the statements and do that. So let's just not do that. So I'm going to say rock again. It's not letting me type for some reason. Figure out why that is. Okay, maybe I'll just rerun this. Oh, I have to type down here. Okay. Rock. It prints tie. Let's do it again because that's kind of weird. We got tie twice with rock. Rock. Okay, so we won that time. So I think this is working all right. All our code's working good so far. We have the basic foundation now. We have a simple rock, paper, scissors game. Rock, paper, scissors. We chose rock. We won. Let's play that again. We can add a lot more things. We can add stuff like win streaks. So it can show us what our win streak is if we keep winning. It can show us the chances we have to win. There's just a lot of things we can add. So I'm going to say paper this time. We lost with paper. Okay, let's run that again. See, eventually we won't need to do this once we turn this into a loop. But anyways, let's say scissors. And then we lost that time as well. So I'm pretty sure this is working correctly. I can't really, I'm not able to guess what the computer's going to choose, which is just kind of showing me it's random. And I think the code's working all right. So there's a lot more things we can do to make this program dynamic. As you can see here, we're using a lot of strings that we're just writing ourselves with hand. For example, if I didn't want it to say you win anymore and I want it to say GG's, or I wanted to say you successfully won. If I just wanted to change you win to something else, or I wanted to change these strings to whatever else, I'd have to go to each one and change it. So if you're building like a serious program, you want to make your program dynamic. So all these strings are using stuff, you just put it within a variable. So it looks something like this. You have a variable maybe up here, and you can say win message equals whatever's in here, like this. And then the best part about this now is that if we wanted to, something I had to do in like a class I was taking at school was that for a game we built, we basically did random win messages. So if the user won the game, would display something different each time. It was just random messages to say you won. Sometimes it was like you won. Sometimes it said good game. Sometimes it said you're too good at this. Just like random things it would say depending if you won. And then it could also do the same for lose. Like if you lose, it could be like better luck next time. Or if you lost again, or maybe you lost some other random time, it would say you lose. It could just say a lot of different things. So we can even do that with this here. And you can imagine how we do that. We just probably want to create another list, put whatever the phrases we want in here, and then just call on one of the phrases, basically like how we did with the computer as well. And we could just tell win message to print out. I think that makes sense and that's clear. So honestly, maybe if we have enough time after we're done creating our logs and stuff, we can do that as well. So yeah, that's the basic game. Honestly, I should fix this. Yeah, I guess honestly, I'll just fix this for now. So a good example. So I'll say UN. Let's create another one for lose message. So this is just creating our program more dynamic, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's say you lose, and then basically what I have to do is just copy and paste this throughout all my print statements. Copy that, make sure it's copied. Lose message here, lose message here. Let's replace the one messages now. Let's see, we went over here. We went up here. Okay, looks like I just messed that up. Oh, what was I doing this entire time? I think I copied and pasted too much. Let me change that. Okay, print, you went over here. Print, you went over here. Okay, I copied and pasted the wrong thing again, my bad. Okay, let me go like this. Print, you went over here. Print, you went over here. And then lastly, print, you went over here. There we go. This is still in a string, so I'm just gonna take these out of a string for lose message. Like that. Okay, so I think this is looking more dynamic now, as it is. So now if I want to change the win message, I simply just go up to the variable and I change it to whatever I want. Or I could change win message into a list of possible win messages. We can do that later. That's just like extra stuff on top. So yeah, everything looks good so far. So let's add the feature where it writes our wins and losses to a file. And then from there, what else? From there, after we add that feature, we need to put everything in a loop, which I think is the easiest part, the last part. So yeah, let's do this. So if it's a tie, we're pretty much just going to keep writing stuff to the file, right? So I'm thinking throughout this entire thing, we're either going to or let me try to explain this better. So while we're doing this, if it ties, what we can do is that we can open the file and save it immediately after each event happens, or we can just save it after the loop breaks. So whenever the loop breaks, but this is an infinite loop. So I guess we just have to keep doing it over and over again. So if we remember writing to a file, this is pretty much the code we write. This has to go on top, of course, but I'm just going to write down here for first. So we want to open the file in write mode, correct? So honestly, maybe I'll put this code in a folder. We'll reopen it up, and we'll have a text file that I can read to. Honestly, I guess I don't need to put in a folder. I'll go like this. So on my desktop, I'm just going to, let's go to Notepad. I'm just going to create a file right here. Say this is something. We're just going to save it to desktop. This is under the same directory, so I believe this should work. I'll call this one log.txt, just like the instructions said to, or what the requirements said to. So that is log.txt created, and it exists here with our rps.py file. So we look up here, make sure we're following it. Yeah, log all wins and losses to log.txt. So if we remember to open a file, we use the open function like this. First thing we pass is the, actually, let me make sure I'm not mixing. I think the first thing is the file name, and then the second thing is the mode we want to open it up in. I could be mixing up the order, so we'll have to fix that afterwards, but I'm pretty sure that's the order. Let me see if I can just hover over it, and if it will tell me. So it won't tell me. So let's just call this log. I'll call this file. So file equals open. It's going to open log.txt, and it's opening it in read mode. I'm pretty sure this is the right order about how you open it. So yeah, so opening this like this. All we did was open the file, and we opened it in read mode. We actually don't want to open this in read mode. We want to open it in A mode, which is append, because we're appending to the file. And then from there now, what we need to do is pretty much just write whatever we want. So I think what I'm going to say is this. I think this can be at the very top, up here like this. And then what needs to happen from here is that we just simply need to file.write and then file.close each time, if that makes sense. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think we can actually just do that like that. So make sure this is all correct and accurate. I think this is good. We'll go something like this. Let's just include it for each one. So if it's a tie, it's going to print that, but first let's log it before it prints anything. So it's going to open the file in append mode. Then it's going to file.write. Remember, .write is to add onto the file, or just to write to the file, really. And then we're going to say it's going to write, let's say it writes win. Or no, tie, right? Because it's a tie. I just scrolled on accident. Okay, yeah. So it's going to write tie to the file, and we need to close the file as well. And the reason we need to close the file is so we can actually save our changes. So it's file.close, which pretty much does that for us, like that. So I'm just going to copy and paste this a couple times, like this. So that's if we tie right here. Next for this one, if user choice equals rock, it's going to print the win message. Cool. But before it does that even, it's going to go over here and it's going to log in now. So this was a win, right? If I wanted, I could put win message in there, but that means in the log, it would say you win, right? So that looks a little bit weird. Actually, honestly, I guess it doesn't look that weird. Let's do it. Win message instead. Copy and paste button doesn't seem to be working. There we go. One message here. We also need, we'll keep that as tie since it's just the only thing that's doing that. So file open like that, file.close like that. Else, it's going to open it again, except win message is now lose message like that. Let's do that again. Let's just do all the lose messages first. So if we lose over here, that's going here. If we lose on this line as well, this needs to go here as well. We can go back and do the win ones again. So we're opening the file, we're writing to the file, we're closing the file. That's pretty much the order of everything we're doing. Closing the file, remember, is important because we're saving it. So in actuality, what we're doing is that we're still opening up the file. We're writing what we want to the file, and then we're saving it. That's all we're doing. And then we're doing the same thing over and over again, because each time we save it, we need to close it. That's pretty much what's happening. So yeah, let's see. Let's just read our code. So if the user chooses rock, check if computer shows scissors. That means we won. Then it's going to open the file. It's going to write the win message, and then it's going to close the file. That looks good. And then else if we lost, it's going to open a file, write the lose message, close the file, and it's also going to print the lose message out to us immediately. That looks good. Then we need to do this one still. So it looks like this. So one message here, lose message, one message, one message. I'm just making sure it lines up. One message, one message. We don't need that printing that many times. That's good. Lose message, lose message. Okay, did we do this one yet? We have that printing out twice again here. We don't need that. Open the file, lose message, win message. I think we're supposed to have two win messages. Yeah, okay. So that needs to get copied and pasted again. Win message. Make sure everything just matches up, because we're starting to have more code here, so it's more important to read it because there could be more mistakes. So I think everything looks good so far. I might have maybe a syntax error that we're going to have to fix afterwards. But yeah, this looks all good so far, I believe. So that's like the main part again. I think we've pretty much added logging now. We actually need to test it out, so let's do that. Let's save this. Let's also just close this so we can rerun it again. Let's drag this over here. So rock, paper, scissors. What's going to be important as well is that we actually open up that file we have. So I'm just going to leave this on the side over here, because we're eventually going to go open that up and look at it. So rock, paper, or scissors. 1 second. I'm going to say rock. Put the wrong thing. Rock. It says tie. So that's awesome. But let's see if we actually logged the tie. So I'm going to open up log.txt, the location I had it, and it works good. It logged tie to the screen. But as we just looked at that right now, I just noticed a possible problem we could have. We didn't get it because it was our first time. But what we need to do is that we need to create a new line each time we log something, or else everything will be on the same line and we can't really parse through that and call in it, you know? Because if it's on a new line, we can do a lot of different things with that. It'll tell us how many matches we've played as well. And yeah, so let's do that right now. Pretty much all I need to do is, let me see. All I need to do is just add the /n after it, right? So I think I'm just going to do plus like that. I think that should fix it. I'm just going to add it to each one. And this will force it to create a new line for each one as well. So honestly, I'm just going to clear the log for now. What we had here, I'm just going to clear it because it's kind of messy. We should have done this the first time. Let's save it to log.txt. Yeah, we're replacing it. That's good. Close that now. And I'm just going to add a plus to the end. So this is just adding a new line for each thing it does. Okay, so we have some more to do at the top, I think. That's good, that's good. That's not good. Okay, so I think that's all we need to add here. We can add it to this one as well. I guess we don't need to add it to both because we don't need to print out the new line. So let me actually remove that whenever it's printing. Print. We only care about it for the logging, not actually printing out to the user. Print. That's good. Print is good. Print is good here. Print is good here. Print is good here. Print is not good here. Let's fix that like that. That's good. And I think everything looks good now. So let's save this. Let's run the program again. So we're running it. I'm going to say scissors. And it tells me I lost. So I can do something like this now. I'm just going to open up the thing again. And you lose has been logged. And we see it created a new line for it. Let's do another one. Once again, we don't have that loop yet, so we have to keep running it on our own like this. I'm going to say rock. It says we won. I have to open this back up again. And it prints out you win. So we have the logging system down now. Every single thing we write is being logged to the notepad just like we want it to log.txt. And then something we can do with this if we really want to, we're not going to do this today because I said today was meant to be a shorter camp. But something we could even do with this, maybe I recommend you try this on your own, is that try grabbing this data and try displaying to the user the total amount of matches they've played. And that's possible. And I can pretty much tell you the way you'd have to do it. You'd have to figure out a way to get each line. So you're pretty much just counting all of these lines in the file, all the lines that have something written on them. That's pretty much what's going on. And that'll tell you how many matches have been played total, right? Because if every single thing's getting lost for each round, that's also equivalent to telling you how many matches you've actually played. So that can be useful for a lot of different things. And you can even count how many times it says you lose and how many times you win, and you can show them your win ratio. And yeah, there's just a lot of cool things you can do with just even logging it on its own. That's just one way we can save the data of our wins and losses to display even more different data, like win ratios and just a bunch of other stuff. I bet you can imagine. So yeah, let's put this into a loop, and I think that's going to be the end of today's camp. So I didn't ask this at all, but I meant to. If you've had any questions throughout this entire thing, you can put them in chat and I'll respond to them. Even if something we did at the very, very start, or maybe even something we did last camp, I'll answer them. But yeah, if everything's clear, that's great. So this looks good, this looks good, this all looks good. And let's put this into the loop. So first of all, we don't need that last line there. That was when we were playing around with writing to files. And yeah, let's put this into the loop. So this is an infinite loop. So this last step we need to do about being an infinite loop, that's pretty easy. It's just going to be a while true. But what's important is that we put all the important stuff inside of it. So for example, computer needs to be inside the loop, right? Because if this is going to be randomizing each time, we need that to stay inside. Because if it's outside of the loop, each match we play, the computer is going to keep calling on this first random thing it chose the first time. So if we want it to keep doing a new random thing each time, this needs to be in the loop. So first I'm just going to write while true. This does not need to be capitalized. While true, like that. And now everything goes inside it. So I know this definitely needs to be in it. I meant to tab that in, not delete it. Let's tab. Okay, I guess I can't. I'll just go like this then. Let's tab it in. The next thing, the user input is going to keep showing this prompt. So that, of course, needs to be inside our loop. The win message, that doesn't need to be our loop. These are constants, right? So we can actually take this outside of it like this. So let's remove this from here. Opening the file and reading it, of course, that needs to be in our loop. Actually, I guess we don't need this yet. So we didn't need this since we're doing it inside. So we can actually remove that completely. If user choice equals computer, sure, let's put that, or yeah, I mean, that definitely needs to be in our loop. I'm not sure why I'm not able to tab it in. Okay, I guess I am that time. So that needs to be in our loop, of course. This needs to be in our loop, of course. This, of course, needs to be in our loop. Did I tab that in already? I wonder how that was. Oh, it was a part of that if else statement. Let's tab in this entire thing. Like that. Down here, everything needs to be tabbed in. Down here, everything needs to be inside it. And then else needs to be inside it as well, because this is all looping. So we can pretty much see what needs to be looped and what doesn't need to be looped. So let me make sure this all lines up. Elif, 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 else, if. I'm just making sure everything's indented to where it should be. That looks good. Everything looks good. Just remove this line. And I think we can try running this code now. So let's save this and let's just run it and let's see what happens. So we're going to keep looking at the log. Let's play 5 matches and then we're going to go look at the log. So I'll say rock for the first 3. So we won that one. We're just going to try to remember this. We lost that one. So that's a win-loss. Paper. We lost that one. Paper again. We won that one. Is that actually 5? No, that's 4. And then we'll say scissors for the last one, scissors. And we tied that one. So in our log, on top of what we already had previously, we should at least see this somewhere. We should see win, loss, loss, win, tie. That's what I care to see. So let's open it up and hope this works as intended. So remember, we already played 2 matches before that, I think. But win, loss, loss, win, tie. So that works perfectly. Nice. So that's logging stuff to the game. So I'm not going to do everything. I'm not going to add all the extra features because I want you guys to try playing around with this. So maybe what you could try doing if you want to play around with this and try something, you need some ideas. Try counting how many games the user has played total. Count how many games they've played total. Even if they end the game completely and close out of it, just save their overall matches played completely. Um, Also, try saving their win ratio. Try showing them like a percentage of how many matches they win to tell them if they're lucky or if they're getting a rock paper scissors or not. Maybe try adding a scoreboard. Maybe try not doing a while loop, and maybe try making it a for loop. So you play 10 rounds with the computer, and that decides who wins. Try a whole lot of different stuff like that. I think the one's gonna be probably fun to play around with is like the win ratio, because that's something I'd be interested in looking at, like how lucky I am and how many of my matches I win, right? Because that'll kind of tell you how lucky you are with rock paper scissors. So yeah, uh, that's pretty much the end of the camp. I don't see any questions, so it looks like we're good there. But if you have questions, I think you'll be able to comment on the video if it uploads afterwards. But yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you're able to replicate what we did today. And I hope everything made sense. And yeah, my name is Dare, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you.